Jared, fighting again internationally, you've done it before. It's nothing new to you. But what do you think? Do you enjoy getting a chance to get out and see the world a little bit, or is it more convenient to just stay home?
No, I love it. I love the traveling the world and everything, getting to see these places that I'd never go see on my own probably. And actually, I think that's one of the most rewarding parts of this whole thing, besides just the whole competition of it and getting to compete still outside of what I used to do. And you know, getting to see the world and everything is priceless to me. It's amazing.
No stranger to big sporting events, of course, but this is the potential to be the biggest UFC event ever, stadium show. Does that get the blood boiling a little bit? Does that pump you up, or are you one of those guys that insists, hey, once the cage door closes, it's just another fight?
I don't get nerves very often or anything, you know, from just the big NCAA tournaments and stuff like that, and the rivalries from OU, OSU. You know, but when I think about this a little bit, I mean, I start getting a little bit jumpy. So I'm like, man, this is going to be fun. It's going to be crazy. But once I get there and everything, it's going to be like, it all goes smooth.
Nice. Right about 2 full years in the UFC now. Quietly built a 5-1 mark in the UFC. I mean, that's a very impressive UFC record, but maybe not as much buzz as some of the other guys in the division. Frustrating at all? What do you feel about that?
A little bit frustrating, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, I've still got a lot to learn and everything, so I also don't want people to be like, oh man, we expect him to do this all the time, or we expect him to be this amazing, you know, showboat out there or something. That's not really who I am, and I'm not ready for that yet with my striking and stuff, but it's a continual thing that I'm working on, and once it happens, you know, it's going to be some big things, you know. My wrestling's there, my ground game's there, my striking's there. It's going to put people on notice.
You mentioned that. I mean, the decisions, I think, is probably what you're getting to,
right.
Ultimately not getting the finishes. So it does sound like it does weigh in the back of your mind a little bit, like you do feel it's something you need to change, but at the same time, you got to make sure you don't get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you got to win. It's kind of job security in a way in this sport, this line of work. You know, winning is everything, and if you can do it impressively, that's the bonus. You know, that's the icing on the cake. But you got to win, though. Winning's number one.
Yeah. Give us an idea. What is your training regimen like? I mean, how much do you spend working on your striking? And are you jumping off the cages in training and trying to do crazy stuff, or do you just stick to the basics?
No, I don't bother with that stuff. I mean, I work on my striking, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a week. You know, I have privates all the time, sparring on top of all that. You know, and when I first started, I was doing the sparring or the striking classes all the time and stuff. And then you start to realize when you go back to the wrestling, like, man, I'm kind of getting out of shape for that too. So there's so much involved in MMA. It's just you got to touch every base, or I mean, if you're not sharpening it in one area, then it's going dull. You know, you have to touch up on everything all the time.
Yeah, you get this matchup, Stefan Struve. Big name. When it came on the table, what were your initial thoughts? Because, again, potential to be one of the biggest ones of your career to date.
I thought it was a great matchup. You know, you got to jump at the opportunity to fight somebody who is a household name in MMA. You know, this is besides like Pelele was a big jump up for me a year ago, and since then it was just kind of just a fight here, but now here's another name where it's like, oh, okay, now I'm excited again. I'm not just another fight. This is a ranked guy that can help get me to where I want to go.
Yeah. Stylistically, the way it plays out, I mean, I've got to think you're the best wrestler that he's ever faced. He says, but, you know, Jared doesn't understand that I'm fine on my back. I'm going to present things off my back that he's never seen before. Do you agree with that? Because, you know, when you look at a long, lanky body like that, on the one hand, sometimes it's targets to go after, and on the other hand, it can get you in trouble sometimes. So what are your thoughts on just how the body type and the matchup plays out?
I don't really worry too much about him off his back, you know. Obviously, whenever I first got matched up with him, it was, hey, we see everything that he's done off his back. We know that he can do stuff off his back. And I've watched Struve since I first started fighting, you know, so I've seen all of his fights. I've seen him do the arm bars, the triangles, all that. I know that he has some stuff down there. But I'm very comfortable on the ground too. It's just that nobody's really put me in bad positions to show that I can stay out of them or capitalize in those situations. Nobody's pushed me on the ground. I'm usually the one that's grinding on top of people. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about his ground stuff, and I hope that's not what he's banking on, or maybe I do. You know.
We know that you've gone through some links to try to replicate what he does. You told MMA Junkie Radio some of the bizarre things that you've done. What do you think? There has been criticism of him that as a 7-footer, he doesn't necessarily use his frame to his advantage. So when you break down his striking, Is there really a concern like this is going to be really hard for me to get inside, or do you feel like that your aggression, your power, your wrestling, you're still going to dictate the positioning regardless?
I think there's a very fine line to where he dictates it, you know, and that's right at the end of his length. He's got to be moving back and keeping that length. But if I get inside of that fine line there, then I believe it'll be all me. You know, once I get inside there, he's not going to have much of anything, and my takedowns are going to be there. You know, it's hard to punch back in toward your body. And you know, when somebody's that tall, and it's been like that ever since I can remember in wrestling, the taller guys are the easiest ones to get a hold of their legs and stuff. So, you know, I think there's a lot of advantages for me, but just all the same, he's still a very dangerous guy.
What do you think the future holds for you? I mean, I know at the end of the day, every fighter's thinking title. That's the only reason they're in this. Still probably got a couple steps to go, but in the heavyweight division, it doesn't take as much, I think, as in some of the other divisions. So what are you looking for? What are the goals right now? What's on the horizon for you?
I think just getting more comfortable out there and with my striking and everything. Like I said, you know, I think that from everybody that I've met and I've talked to about striking and whatnot from experience they've had, other fighters, they said one day it just clicks for them. They said, you know, just one day it just clicked, and it just came natural to them. I'm just waiting for that day to come. And like I said, with my wrestling and the way I feel on the ground and everything, and once I get that stride and striking and everything, everybody's going to be, you know, worried that it's going to be a bad matchup for anyone.
When you hear the criticisms, do you get bummed out, or do you think like, I wish that son of a gun would just let me double leg? I'll show him what wrestling's about. I'll show him what this feels like. I
don't listen to it too much. I mean, you know, we hear all this stuff. I've heard it for a long time. I mean, all the way from high school, you saw all these people criticizing about stuff. It's just in one ear, out the other, and just keep moving forward.